Good afternoon and welcome to FDN News. I'm Bree Santiago. Our top story this week, Huntington University gets an app. It includes chapel credits, flex updates, email, and other important campus information. The app was a senior project for a group of computer science majors last year. It was officially released this past Tuesday. A student serving in Africa has returned to the States early. We've kept you up to date on Ebola outbreak in West Africa and the effects it's had on the university. I sat down with the student this week. She tells me Ebola concerns in the U.S. caused her early return.
This is Senior Youth Ministry and Mission Major Jordan Placencia. She just returned home to the States last Wednesday.
I had my prime internship in Botswana, Africa. I was working with Youth for Christ, Botswana.
While serving in the African country, she was able to experience the Ebola breakout through a different lens than the rest of America.
The concern in Botswana wasn't that people were going to catch Ebola. They took precautions beforehand to close their borders to affected countries. So I think that's why most people, they weren't afraid of catching the virus, but it's something that you're aware of.
Although catching the virus was never a worry to her or the people of Botswana, traveling through West Africa in order to return home did become a major concern.
Once I started to hear about the way that people were reacting in the U.S., it raised a little bit of question, the uncertainty of, okay, now what precautions are they going to take, what restrictions are they going to implement, and is that going to affect me returning in a few months come December.
Once several cases of Ebola had been confirmed in the United States and the CDC was scrutinized for some questionable calls regarding the deadly illness, Placentia's parents became worried for the well-being of both students serving in Africa. They spoke with both the president and the dean of the university, voicing their concerns. The school then agreed to offer both students the opportunity to return home early and finish their internship in the States. Although Kushinikov, who was serving in the midst of the infected countries, decided to stay, Placentia decided it was time to come home.
Just taking all of the things into consideration and recognizing, so much of it was out of our control and there was a lot of uncertainty. I guess the risk was great enough that it wasn't worth risking not being able to get back in come December. Something that God taught me through this process, with the fear of not wanting to look a certain way, not wanting to be seen as, a failure or a quitter. He reminded me that it wasn't, my name's sake that was on the line. It was his name's sake that I was doing this for.
Placentia plans to finish her prime internship working with a youth group at a church in Noblesville, Indiana. If you have a faded ID card, you might have been denied at the Dining Commons recently. FDN has discovered you can still use them, but you're asked to get a replacement as soon as possible. Sodexo recently told students that they will no longer accept faded IDs in the DC. The issue started when Sodexo workers couldn't recognize the picture of the cardholder. But the university looked into the problem and found out that the fading is the result of a bad batch of cards from the ID vending company. Residence Life has asked Sodexo to continue accepting the faded ID cards, but they also encourage students to get their IDs replaced. The school will replace all faded cards free of charge as long as it is not lost or physically broken.
Right now what we've done is we've changed the image so that we can make sure that the cards that go out have a different background photo on them. That way we know they're the newer cards, so we can gauge to make sure that those cards are lasting as they should.
If you need a new card, you can visit Margaret Pascoe in the Upper Hub. Student Senate is also working to streamline the process of getting music approved for campus events. Typically, the music played at school-sponsored events is all the same no matter what the event. That's because the process of getting song lists approved is so lengthy and disorganized. This will also all change when Senate launches the new music approval campaign on Monday, November 10th. The university will create a campus Spotify account that can be accessed by all organizations and Residence Life. The new campaign will make it easier for groups to quickly access approved music for campus events.
Earlier on, the Student Life Committee is currently organizing and creating a way to get this more organized. Right now we're in the adolescence of this planning, and once we can get that more into fruition and develop those plans, we will be hopefully sending this to students no later than 2 or 3 weeks from now.
All students will be able to make suggestions by adding songs to a community playlist or by emailing their song ideas to senate@huntington.edu. A growing restaurant in town has experienced an unusual incident that threatened its business. The local pizza joint known as Jimmy Pop's just purchased a new building on the corner of East Market and North Bryant Street. But the night before they were set to move in, the owner received a call that his building was on fire. After an investigation, detectives apparently told the owners the cause of the fire was suspicious. The fire left nearly $10,000 of damage. It took volunteers from the community 30 hours to clean up the devastation.
We got into the building about 1:30 in the morning, and about 2:10 we started having people show up. With all the work we had to do that was required after having a fire from the Board of Health, you had to meet, all the dishes had to be washed 3 times. You know, the walls had to be washed, everything had to be touched at some point in time. For about 30 hours straight, we were here and people were just showing up nonstop. And without all the volunteers coming in and helping us, there's no way we'd be open today.
Jimmy Pop's is now reopened in its new location. One HU student is giving back this holiday season in a big way. Sophomore Sam Wingo wants to put together enough Thanksgiving dinners to feed 100 families in need. That would double her efforts from last year. She's asked students to donate canned goods, instant mashed potatoes, and money.
It's real close to my heart just because my family, we grew up in poverty. Like, I was those people that got the donations. So, I mean, I know how much that means to other people. And so I was like, I'm here to help you guys out. Like, I'm paying forward what someone else paid back for me.
If you are interested in helping, you can contact Sam at wingos@huntington.edu. Well, that's all we have for you in this installment of FDN News. Don't forget to check us out online at forresterdigital.net and follow us on Twitter at FDN_news. Have a great weekend and we will see you next week.